All right, we are live again. Let's try this again, folks.
Right? Did you break the internet or what, Shiloh?
I don't know. I don't know, man. So let's see if we can get some people on here now. Uh, Let me share this. All right, quick things we started over.
Let me see if it pings in my notifications.
Hmm. Let's see.
I can see it.
Can you? Uh, Here's the deal.
Let's go to the podcast.
That's the Facebook page. I wonder if they didn't take us down.
Well, the Facebook page is still rolling. I don't understand.
Why did it say? Okay, it says we're having trouble streaming to Facebook. This may be an issue on Facebook's end. It is possible the stream was ended or deleted on Facebook. We'll keep trying. Hmm. Well, let's roll with
Live
it,
on our
man. I don't
Facebook
know.
page. Yeah, may as well. Let's go with it.
We might have. Oh, we are live now, it says. So, all right, we are live. We got two. All right. Oh,
Oh, there we are.
all right. So, sorry about this, guys. I don't know. We're having problems with Facebook, so they might be monitoring us, being as I posted a bunch of stuff from the summit. So, let's just start over. How are you, Marvin?
I'm doing good, bud.
So, like I was saying, um, I met a lot of people, excuse me, a lot of people around the country, and some of the stories were disturbing. I met some ladies out in Massachusetts, or a lady from Massachusetts. She was running for Secretary of State, just like you did, Marvin. And she's a black woman. Not that that makes a difference, but the reason I say that is because she's been labeled a white supremacist for her views. When they were in a parade during their campaigning, Antifa attacked them and actually tried to take their child out of the stroller. I mean, it was crazy. Some of the stories that we heard. I heard taped messages from people getting threatened to be gang raped and their kids raped and all kinds of stuff. It's been crazy. I just, I don't know what this world has come to. Before we really talk about the event, I'd like to talk about a few people that I met. And the first one I want to talk about is my friend Tina. I'm not going to say her whole name online, but she actually the way I met her was Charles did a live the night before the summit had started. He was over there and visiting with people, and this lady got on, and she's a banker. And I found it interesting because they were talking about the banks shutting down, okay,
Okay.
and and what that really means. Now, and I mentioned this when I got back to the all chapter meeting here on Friday. I mentioned it to the Sons of Liberty as well. Is I listened to a podcast with Robert Kiyosaki, and obviously he's the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he's been talking about this for months. Well, tomorrow the BRICS nations are going to be announcing, or are supposed to be announcing, um, a cryptocurrency that is gold backed because they want to do away with our basically our toilet paper that we call money. And Tina was mentioning, and she's going to be on a future episode. Uh, she was mentioning that the government is planning to do, you can only take so much money at a time. Even though it's your money, You're only allowed so much of it at a time. Kind of like what they're doing in China right now with the red phone, green phone deal.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of pushback there too on the digital currency. Um,
Yeah,
During the legislative session, I was rounding up information for legislators about what's going on down in Africa, where they're doing the currency like this. Um, Out in China, how much pushback there is on it. We as a culture, we as a culture aren't ready for strictly digital currency. There is always going to be people that want to work with actual money, and
right,
they'll use it as a way, honestly, I feel, to punish people that do what we do and speak out about what's going on.
right.
So I
Well,
mean, we better be ready for some barter and trade in order to get what we need.
exactly. And that's kind of what the point I'm trying to get to is that our money our on the fiat system isn't going to be worth, well, it isn't worth, let's be honest, it isn't worth anything. And so that's why like Robert really pushes people to invest in gold and silver, like the actual stuff that you can get your hands on. One of his big things is he doesn't invest in anything that can be printed. So when he invests in oil, he actually invests in the oil. He doesn't invest in the company. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. Another gal that I met was from Michigan, and her name is Sandy. Let me find her card here right quick. She does a lot of work with veterans, takes them in, helps them get started and all that. Man, I got that cough again. I just don't know. Anyway, she came up to me after I did my speech. So this was the second day, and she's a little old lady. She's about I would say in her 60s. Not that 60 is old or anything. I don't mean disrespect there. Anyway, she was talking to me about being an election official. And when she took the job, she was told not to stay in any motels. If she goes out to eat, don't ever leave your plate or your drink, even if it's water, because it could be spiked and all this other stuff. And that she was to go home every day after she was done with her job. And she's kind of a spitfire actually, because the other thing she was telling me about was these power meters now, these electronic power meters. And this is a story that I've heard in a lot of states through this whole summit, was these electric meters that they have on their houses now. They can shut them off. They can uh, monitor your power. They can they can only, you know what I mean? They can make so much available to you. They can slow your wattage down because they've had soft uh, power outages. They're doing it right now. And she told them that she doesn't want one on her house, to the point where they showed up, she went out there with a shotgun and said, "Hey, you will not put one of those on my house. Leave my property now." And of course, they came when she came back when she wasn't at home, because obviously somebody knew when she wasn't going to be home. But this kind of ties into what Kit Brennan and I were talking about a few weeks ago with these data centers, because especially the one out here in Williston, it's right by uh, a power. Uh, Shoot, what am I trying to think of here? The big power, it's
All the
uh,
transformers.
yeah, the transformer stations. So, who do you think is going to get the power when they start doing this? If there's a quote unquote power shortage, I
Well, keep
guarantee it
data
isn't.
centers going.
Yeah, I guarantee you it isn't going to be um the citizens. So you're right, Kit. They can't print the gold, so that's why they want us to. So substation. Thank you, Rory. I appreciate it. So anyway, another lady I talked to was this Ryla Campbell, and she's going to be on the show too. and she ran for Secretary of State in Massachusetts. And before we got cut off here, I was kind of telling her a story where they were in the parade and Antifa attacked them and tried to take their kid out of the stroller, and she played some of the messages that they got, and then they were threatening messages about what they were going to do to her kids, and I won't repeat that because it's actually very alarming. And that was kind of that was that was told more than once from multiple people. We had people from Indiana tell the story. She spoke for Indiana. Uh, no, it wasn't Indiana. It was one of those out there. It'll come to me anyway. She was talking about how her property taxes doubled because of what she was saying. So, I mean, there was just all kinds of stories. So, and the last one I wanted to talk about is Sheila Walker, and she is a Maui resident. And what she is going to do is she is running for one of their state senator positions over there in Maui. And I had met her through Trent Luce. Trent Luce was down there too, and I actually met her through Trent, and we got to talking. And she's actually going to come on too here at some point. I met a lot of these people, and we're going to rotate them through the show here and have some guests that are kind of national. So, but she was talking because she's going to run for that state senate seat in 2024. But when she comes on, we're going to talk about the Maui fires and the issues they're having out there, because in a way they feel like it's a land grab, the locals do, because everything blew up. The gas stations, I mean, everything blew up. So it's all, they're wondering where they're going to get their food, their water, because it's all contaminated now. They have no idea. I mean, it sounds like it's a real mess. And I didn't get to talk to her too long, but he agreed that to come on the show. And so we're going to have her on as a guest here in the near future. So, but with that, let's talk a little bit about the actual summit and plan.
Let's hear it.
All right. So I don't know all of you who seen the plan be revealed, but what they're going to do is they have this what they call wireless monitoring device, a WMD, and you can go on Frank's speech and Frank social to see the videos. But they actually, what it does is it picks up everything that's on the internet in a building. So how they did it was they actually had it on a drone, and they were flying it above the convention center that we were in. And then they brought it in through the front door and down the stairs and into the center where we were and landed it on the desk in front of Mike and the guy who built it, Jeff O'Donnell. Excuse me. And anyway, what this thing does is it can detect anything that's on. So in that whole building, what it did is it detected anything that was on the internet, cell phones, printers, computers, you name it. If it was on the connection, they could see it. So, and then what you can do is there's a filter, and you can knock things off. And so say you're sitting at your house and they're going to run this through Frank Social. You can actually sit in your house and that device be over at the precinct or wherever they're voting, and you can see when a voting machine comes on the internet. You can actually see it when it comes on. You'll get an alert. Not only does it detect it, but the information that it's funneling through, like the what we call the credit line of ballots that they have, that information is also collected and it's sent to their crime bureau building. one of two. There's a black chain station as close as you can get to the substation along Highway 200 north of Jamestown. I did not know that, Rory.
Yeah, a rumor from that is the guy that put it in was bragging locally how if it gets too hot out there, it's going to cause blackouts in Jamestown, but I can't
Mhm.
verify that. But I did hear that last summer already. It's pretty
Got,
disgusting.
gotcha. So, at any rate, with this device, it'll send that information back to the Crime Bureau Center. He didn't tell us obviously where the Crime Bureau Center is for obvious reasons. Um, there was a mini cyber attack when they revealed this because um, they actually had to come back and show us how to run Frank Social. So I guess my thing is you guys need to check out Frank's speech and Frank's Social because this is going to be run through there. And once we get these devices, we're going to be able to tell when the machines go on, and we're going to be able to get that data. So we aren't going to have. One thing I learned tonight on the call that we had was we ain't going to have to go through our Secretary of State anymore to get our voter rolls and all of that. All that stuff is going to be compiled for us already through these devices. So, and they didn't reveal the whole thing. It sounds like they're going to have another uh, summit next year sometime and reveal the rest of the plan because obviously there's more to it than just what was revealed on Thursday. So I would suggest that if you guys don't have a Frank Social or a Frank Speech um, app, that you go on and sign up. It's free. He's got all his Lindell TV stuff on there, and he's got all the stuff from the summit. And there's going to be more information coming as they go. So I know you were on the call tonight with me, Marvin. What did you think?
Well, you know me, Shiloh. I'm always a little bit of a skeptic. I like that hard data aspect of things. Um, I did get to ask some questions um, as to how this thing is supposed to differentiate between cell phones, stuff like that. Obviously, they're not going to give away a lot of that. So until I see it work, like with my own eyes, like I'm curious as to what's going on because technology like that is amazing, but in the wrong hands could be super bad too. So I've said for years that science no longer asks whether or not they should do something; they just do it and then ask for forgiveness afterwards.
Well,
So, like the device
see?
itself, the premise of what it's proposing is amazing if it works the way they're saying that it's designed to work. So
Uh,
I'm my normal optimistic skeptic, if you know what I mean.
mhm.
Because you know me, Shiloh. I like hard data. If I can't prove it, I don't like talking about it, and that's why
Yep,
I collect information.
yep. I hear you.
So
So,
it was very interesting call. The proposal as to what they want to do is really good. Um, if it goes as planned, could be absolutely amazing for eliminating the machines and going back to the hand counts, the paper ballots, the more
yep,
secure voting system, stuff like that.
yep,
So, like, I like what they're proposing. I want to see the implementation.
yep. So I'm looking at the agenda here, and the first speakers they were supposed to have, excuse me, was Rudy Giuliani and Ken Paxton. Well, I know who Rudy Giuliani is. The reason he wasn't there is because he got indicted the day before, so he couldn't make it. The second one was Ken Paxton, and if I'm correct, he is the Secretary of State in Texas, and he's making making waves, and they told him that if he went to this thing, that he would be impeached, no questions asked. So he's already having a hard enough time. They decided that he wasn't going to come. I met Tina Peters, uh, talked to her a little bit. We're going to see if she can't come to North Dakota with Dr. Frank the next time we get him here. Um, so the other thing I want to make a comment on is my speech.
You
So
were nervous, dude.
I was, I was, and the reason I was pretty good until about 3 minutes before I got on stage, and the reason for that is they had changed this so much many times through the deal. You know, the first time I was supposed to be able to give a speech because we didn't have much to talk about, right?
Yep.
So then, excuse me, then we did the slides like they asked. So I was supposed to be able to be up there for 5 to 7 minutes. Okay. So obviously they ran over time between Mike talking in the morning and then some of these other speakers ran over their time. So right before we go on stage, well, about 3 minutes or so, it's me and the guy from North Carolina. They inform us that we only have 3 minutes, if that. I'm going, oh, great. So I talked a little bit about some of the points that we had, and then I talked about the North Dakota GOP and North Dakota Sons of Liberty. And there was a few people, I guess, that were upset because it sounded like I gave the North Dakota Sons of Liberty all the credit. And I did not mean to do that. Did not mean to do that at all. I would never take away from anyone in this fight, any grassroots people. I meant that North Dakota Sons of Liberty and the other grassroots people around the state, because let's be honest, it's been a fight for a long time. Um, help take over the North Dakota GOP. And my main thing about North Dakota GOP was that I was trying to get across was that we won 4 of the 5 seats with one vote or less, or with one vote. That's how important it is to be involved. So I didn't mean to take take any credit for anything really, and I didn't mean to take um, credit away from anybody who's been in this fight even long before me, because Lord knows there is enough people. So if I did offend anybody with that, I certainly didn't mean to. And to be honest with you, um, I'm not mad. I am glad that people pointed out because I want to get better. I am not a public speaker. I am new at this, but I'm passionate about it and I believe that we need to do it. And so um I do want to get better. I can take constructive criticism. And so I again I apologize to anybody that I might have offended with but it was not in any way, shape, or form to not give anybody else the credit because it's all been a group effort. And to be honest with you, we need more people to jump in this fight because there's more to do and we're going to need more people. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I appreciate the comments and just know that I didn't mean to offend anybody. So, and I'm not going to apologize for my speech because it is what it is. Um, I don't think that I said anything wrong, but on the same token, I'm not gonna have people upset. So I hope you can forgive me, and that's where I'm gonna leave that. So,
Well, my 2 cents on the matter, since I helped you write the speech and I helped you put together the slides, I know you
hmm
talked about a lot more than the Sons of Liberty. And
yep,
watching you on the stage, I could tell that you were trying to maintain your composure, and like I get it. Like
Yeah. So
that's very awesome of you to say what you just said, because it takes a lot to say that. I mean, when I've made mistakes publicly, I've fessed up to it. If I've
mhm.
misspoken, I'll admit to it. And so, like, we've all been there. But from somebody that helped you with your speech, you talked about all the different grassroots movements and just being put on a 3-minute timer when you're expecting 7, and then changing the materials. Like, we were scrambling for the last week
Mhm.
to get you ready for down there. And
Yep.
it was nuts because, yeah, what, Tuesday when you were flying down, I prepared all the information for your slides so you'd have them when you got there.
Right. Yeah, because they had changed again. So, and that's
Yeah.
the thing with this is it's done on the fly for a reason, and I understand the reason now when I got down there, because I'll be honest with you, Marvin, it is that is man, that is a machine down there. So there's a couple things. They had President Trump's security team down there. They're half of them were special ops. I'll tell the story just because. So anyway, I get down there and the Sons of Liberty gave me some hats and stuff, and I was gonna pass them out to people and this and that. And so again, here I come trucking in with this bag, and I got these hats and some stuff, brochures and business cards or whatever. And the one guy goes, "Well, I can't let you in with this because there's no propaganda." I'm like, "Okay." Now, mind you, this guy's muscles, this guy's arms are bigger than my torso, man. Like, I'm not gonna say nothing to this dude. And I'm like, "Okay." So I go back outside and put him in the car, and they finally let me in. And I go in the back there I'm talking with Dr. Frank and some of the people that we work with from Cause of America. And I tell Dr. Frank, I said, "Yeah, I got some hats and I got a shirt for Mike." I said, we'd like to give him one and stuff. I said, "But the security stopped me and said I can't do it because of propaganda." "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, bring him in tomorrow. We'll get it in." All right. So that was in the morning. Uh, so I go back down there for my speech in the afternoon, and that same security guard come as we're watching the screen. That same security guard comes in and goes, "Hey, man, you should have told me that you were a speaker. I would have let you bring that stuff in." He's like, "You bring it in tomorrow, then." I'm like, "All right, all right." So anyway, the next day comes in, and here I come again, trucking with my bag. And at that time, I'd already listened to the plan and stuff, and I'll be honest with you, it was emotional. It was. There was times that that Tina and I that I was telling you about earlier, we sat together for most of it. Man, we were crying, and I mean, it was just the spirit of God was there. Those whole when you walked in, from the time that you walked in, for the whole event, you could just feel him, and it was emotional, man. And I ain't gonna lie. I mean, even when I got back, you seen how emotional I was, and I was, and I had to apologize to the Sons of Liberty right away because I said I'm sorry, but it was emotional, and I said I got emotional. And anyway, so I'm listening to him talk about the plan, and then about how he's needing help with the Lindell uh, uh, offense fund and stuff. So I'm gonna run that there. If you guys can give to help with the cause, if you can give anything, go to the Lindell offense fund and contribute. That would be greatly appreciated. But anyway, so I'm sitting here with all these hats, and I got a shirt. And actually, I bought. So he was selling different shirts too. They had Mike Lindell sayings on them. One said, "Melt the machines down and make prison bars out of them." One said, "Don't go Fox News on me." And then one said, "Avoid avoid tyranny, obey God." And so I bought one of each. and then I got one of the Crime Bureau shirts for free for everyone I bought. But they also had some that were signed by him, and I bought one of those. So, and I bought the melt the machines down and make prison bars out of them. That's the one I have that's signed. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking I'm supposed to give these hats away and stuff. So I came up with a better idea. I went back there and the security guard stops me and goes, "So what do you got in there?" And I showed him. Now mind you, this is the same security guard, and he's like, "Oh man, this hat's awesome!" Just making a big deal out of it. So I gave it to him. He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why didn't you say anything yesterday?" I said, "Well, look at you. You look like you eat thunder and shit lightning." I said, "I didn't want you to fling me out the front door." And he busts out laughing like this guy's just a big gorilla. And so anyway, he's laughing and we're visiting a little bit, and obviously I couldn't get my picture with him because of his job, but yeah, he thought that was great. So long story short, I took those hats in. Mike signed them all. He signed the sweatshirt that was supposed to be mine. And what I'm going to do with them is we're going to auction them off, and with the proceeds, we're gonna donate to the Lindell Fund. So that's what we're gonna do with those. But yeah, that was my run-in with the security. You ever, you you
For
ever, uh, you ever had a run-in with security like that before?
well, most of the time I'm taller than the security, but this boy sounds like he was about as thick as a tree trunk, so that's a little bit
Oh man,
different.
yeah, it was funny, but so no, overall, it was. I'm glad I went. It was very, very good, very emotional. I'm excited. I think it gives a lot of people hope. Obviously, there's more to do, and there's going to be more announcements coming as this thing grows. Uh, I know, just talking with you, we are going to be uh, broadcasting from Frank's speech as soon as we get it set up. Um, there's going to be some stuff going on with our show. Like I said, some of these people that I met down there are going to be on the show. We've got people that want to work with us from other states, which I feel is a good thing. That was another big thing from down there is the amount of networking that went on was just phenomenal. And I'll be honest with you, I spent a lot of time in the back with Dr. Frank and the speakers, and being able to um, being able to do that was really good. So, but yeah, it was crazy. I'm glad I went. It was definitely informational. So
Looks like Crystal's waving.
there she.
Yep.
Hi, Crystal. How are you?
Well, and I
So
mean, really this goes even further than just about the elections as far as I'm concerned,
yeah.
because our elections are what appoint our leaders. Our leaders are what sets the laws, and right now we're dealing with it today. Um, I posted
Hmm.
to the Here's the Deal page earlier this morning. Somebody sent me a link for radio talking about how Summit is now on the radio on the offensive, trying to get the Public Service Commission debate reversed on not allowing the pipeline. And now they're saying that they're going to use the carbon for fracking. So on our page there, I posted the actual map for the proposed pipeline. I
Hmm.
posted the most current map for the Bakken and the wells that we have. And then I posted a bunch of articles saying that absolutely this isn't supposed to be used for fracking. Our leaders, our legislative assembly, who's elected,
Hmm.
make and choose these decisions. So absolutely um, having everything. Oh, they could have said no in the legislative session. Let's just put it that way. It would have been very easy to go in and adjust eminent domain. It would have been very easy to go in and just strike down carbon capture, even though it's been on our books for 8 years, I think. 2012 is when it got put on. And a lot of these leaders are the same ones that aren't listening to the people that elected them. We have some really great legislators that are in there, but their voice is so muted by the rest of this cluster that we currently have that we need to have our elections right. We need to have our leadership right. And that's all the way down to a township, county level. Because it seems like every day we lose more and more. And I'm tired. I'm exhausted of seeing all these companies that are coming into our state getting gigantic tax breaks to turn us into a dumping ground.
Yeah.
And
Crystal saying that Summit has a new route. Do you see the new route?
I don't know if I have the newest route, but again, as far as I know, they don't get the tax credits that's used for anything other than storage. And unless they do some real fancy wording, I don't think they can turn fracking into storage.
Yeah. Well,
It's ridiculous.
Governor, you know who is down there in Iowa saying that it's going to pass here. So
Oh, I
I'm
know
not.
that article too.
Yeah.
But he's also down there referring to taxpayers as customers too. And last time I checked, the customer service sucks.
You know what? You know what they referred to us down there, North
What?
Dakota? We're red, all right. We're China red, and I couldn't argue that point. So, did you hear the booze come when I mentioned Governor Burgo?
Yeah, that was
Oh goodness!
straight savage from the audience.
I wanted to say more on that, but again, I only had 3 minutes. So,
Yeah, I'm looking for my charger cable. Don't mind me as we walk through the house. So apparently
yeah.
I don't have as much life as I thought I did.
Oh yeah. She said she's gonna send it to us. So, but
But no, and I mean that was the biggest thing. Like when I prepared that part of the slide for you, it was about the mail-in ballots.
right.
And what to expand on that, just for those that don't know, one of part of the slides for the show was about mail-in ballots in North Dakota. And I brought up how our mail-in ballot system, where 34 of our 53 counties allow mail-in ballots, is how they were able to shut down our June primaries in 2020. It's executive order. Sorry, it's a big house. Executive order 2020-13.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whereas that our presidential hopeful governor used to shut down the state when it came to our elections and move everything strictly to mail. The state was actually sued over that. That order got rescinded the day that the court hearing was supposed to take place, which was August 25th of 2020. Executive Order 2020, I think 39. And then 2 months later in October, he released the exact same executive order trying to shut down the polls again. And that was 2020-13.1. And that's all on the North Dakota website. If you type in ND governor and then just EO, you can read these for yourself. And again, back to the legislative session, they tried shutting down the mail-in ballots too. Right. So I'm interested to see what the final product is with Paul Sorum's election initiative. You had Paul and Michael on here a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what the final product looks like. Because it needs to be addressed. If the Legislative Assembly won't address it, obviously the people will. If the people pass it, are we going to end up in the same kind of dumpster fire we ended up with the term limits, where they tried to change the verbiage of the term limits? And it's really just a goofy cycle, and it all comes back to your elections, people. It really does. So, and when I was doing my run, and I'm not going to do this every show, Shiloh, because I don't want to be known as a former candidate, but when I was doing my run, since we are talking about elections, every time I spoke, I asked the audience if they believed if there was election fraud in North Dakota. And it wasn't because I was trying to run strictly on election fraud. I wanted to see the show of hands, because my point always was, if one person doubts, we have an issue. It means we're not being 100% transparent if you have one person doubting. And granted, most of the time I was getting 90% of the hands raised, but it wasn't about the proof that it was there, which we've shown. When I testified for Senator Magrum's bills, I literally had Senator Roars admitting things that happened were illegal, that I had signed affidavits from people for. But yet we couldn't pass those election bills. So sorry for the rant. I'm a little feisty about this summit thing.
No, that's fine. You know, now can you imagine what it was like being down there?
Oh yeah.
It was it was it was a good, yeah, I hard for me to describe it. So I'm gonna go through my talking points down there, like you were saying. So same day voting. North Dakota allows early open polls in 8 counties with the highest populations: Burley, Cass, Grand Forks, Mercer, Morton, Stark, Stutzman. And that's off the North Dakota Secretary of State office. Only 10 counties have traditional precinct polling sites: Benson, Bowman, Burley, Grand Forks, McLean, Morton, Montreal, Slope, Stutzman, and Williams. Again, from the North Dakota Secretary of State's office. Paper ballots, obviously we use, are still allowed at polling locations. Express vote machines are being used in some locations. Excuse me. Sorry about that. No machines required. We use poll pads. What are poll pads, Marvin?
Poll pads are the things that they check you in on. So when they
Yep.
grab your ID and check you in, that's supposed to be the most accurate information with your name and address.
What about express vote?
Express vote is the paperless machine where you
There
go
you
through
go.
the tablet.
Which we use. And then no mail-in voting like you were talking about. Vote by mail is allowed in 34 of our 54 counties. Just a second, I'm sorry here. Sorry, I lost my thought. And it's someone messaging me. 34 of the 54 counties, we use vote by mail. And that is, should I name all of them?
No,
Adams.
I
All
mean you
right.
can.
You can go to the Secretary of State's office, their website, and look at them. Vote by mail being allowed is what the governor used for the reason to unconstitutionally close all physical polling locations with the June primary of 2020. as well as allowing processing or counting of mailed-in ballots 5 business days before the election. So the big thing that I think I talked about too was, and people couldn't believe it, we are the only state that doesn't have voter ID.
Yeah.
And the way that that goes is they get their information from the Department of Transportation. And who else, Marvin?
The Department of Vital Records, so birth certificate,
There you
death
go.
certificate, stuff like that. And you mean
There you
voter
go.
registration? We don't have
Yeah,
voter IDs, a little bit different.
right. Voter registration. Thank you
Yep.
for correcting me there.
Yep.
So you can have a driver's license, a non-driver's ID, a tribal ID, passport, military ID, or a long-term care certificate. But here's the kicker, and this is where everybody, and I think you hear the when I
Yeah.
said this was election officials may not require a voter to provide proof of citizenship. So they can't ask if they're a citizen. How in the world does that work?
Well, and that was the opinion from our Attorney General that was issued October 26th of 2022. And his opinion was based on our current law. I
Mhm.
have it in front of me here. The statutory identification requirements only allow for verification of the elector's name, age, and residence. They do not speak to citizenship or to a method of providing citizenship or constitutionally permissible method by which to prove it. An election official has no authority to request proof of citizenship. If an individual states he or she is a United States citizen, the election official must take the individual at his or her word.
Mhm.
That's a dumpster
Yeah,
fire that should
very
be
much
addressed by
so.
our legislators. Like, people got awful mad about at Drew on it, but he's right if you look at our century code. So
Yeah.
it's but we were running into that out in Cass County. Poll workers
Mhm.
were questioning people because they were coming in groups and they were they're
Being told
very
how to vote, weren't
yes,
they?
they were allowed to vote. They were told
Yep.
that would be considered discrimination if they questioned whether or not somebody was a US citizen.
Yep. Hmm. How does that work?
I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know either, man. So yeah, the things I seen down there too, kind of on that, they had demonstrations about or videos of people taking the same ballot and putting it through the machine over and over. They had copies of a ballot, and it was on regular paper. It wasn't even on a cardstock or anything. It was unbelievable. In every state, Marvin, every state you've seen, so it was all across the board.
well, and that's where
Couldn't believe it.
watermarking comes into play.
Yeah.
Um, we can earmark billions of dollars to human services. I think we can deflect some of that to Secretary of State's office to provide watermark ballots that they can track.
Yep.
Yep.
I agree. So, well, with that, I don't really have much anymore. I guess we are gonna have some announcements coming up about different things with the show. We're gonna be, like I said, we're gonna be moving into Frank's speech and Frank's social. Um, we'll have some promo codes for some stuff coming up here soon too. So be prepared for that. And I guess that's all I have for tonight, Marvin. How about you?
Um, no, we really got to get out there, people. It's
Oh,
where we're at with this. Um, whether it's if you stand for the election initiative when that comes out, or if you stand for this property tax initiative when it comes out. I know people are panicking about the property tax. I saw Port put up an article the other day um, saying that with all the cities sitting and raising everybody's taxes, they're really making the property tax initiative look like it's going to pass. And
Mm-hmm.
don't forget about the Rick Green event in Bismarck and Williston. Don't forget about that, Shiloh.
I won't. Hey, Carrie, uh, what's that? What's that about? Give us a quick, and we'll put it up here on the screen. I they were talking about it at the meeting, and I can't recall it. I know that he's going to be speaking on some election stuff. I do believe I'm right there. Let's let her comment here. With that being said, too, I agree with you, Marvin, and we do. We need to get out there. Like the establishment knows that we're coming now. This isn't 2 or 3 years or even 10 years ago. The establishment knows we're coming. We need to be prepared. I have a flyer I can send to you. Biblical Constitution classes. That's right. Okay, yeah, if you would do that, Carrie, I'd appreciate it. But anyway, like here in District 2, our three amigos, we already know they're running. It's no secret. They were here in a parade right here in Ray, North Dakota, 2 or 3 weeks ago for Grain Palisades. 2 weeks ago. They're running. If they weren't running, they wouldn't be in no parade. So, in my opinion, we should be having our candidates out there or getting some people rounded up to run because right here, let's see. Can we show that? Did that come through on your end?
Well, I don't see it.
Okay. Well,
Well, we can post it to the page too. I'll make sure it
yep,
gets
we'll
shared.
post it to the page. Yep. Anyway, I believe that this keeping stuff secret, and I'm not saying that we have to be obnoxious and be a hothead or anything like that, but I do believe that we need to get out there and get after it because the gig is up. They know the grassroots is here. So well, let's do what we can. It doesn't matter, in my opinion, what grassroots group you belong to. Let's get the candidates out there and get them supported and let's fight this fight because that's it is. It's gonna be a fight.
And
And
for those
it's
of
not
you,
gonna
I'm going to throw this in here, Shiloh. For those
sure.
of you that are considering running, you have a year before the primary, less than a year. You got 10 months. If you are serious about running for office, A, make sure that you're involved on your district levels. B, you got to get out into the community. You have to have talking points. If you come knocking on my door to tell me you want to be a legislator, I want to know why. One of the most things that impressed me with Machenbacher, whether you like Mike or not, when he decided he was running, he called me because I was on the district list for 47. And he spent 25 minutes on the phone with me. And I ran him through the ringer on policy, on everything else, because I'm me. And the fact that he wasn't batting an eye at my questions, he was giving me firm answers, even if we didn't agree. If I pushed it, he stood his ground, and you can't be afraid. Um, you look at what we did here for the primary. I announced late. I didn't get to speak at convention. I had no name. People didn't know me. And we did 33% on the primary. Y'all got 10 months for the primary.
Wait a
And
minute, back up. You got what?
I got 33% on the primary.
And you announced late so you didn't get to speak at the convention.
Yep.
And you're up against the machine that is Doug Burgum and his cronies.
Yep.
I mean, let's face it. And you still got 33% of the vote.
Yep. And we spent less than $12,000.
Did you hear that, people? This can be done.
And
This
that was on
can
the
be done.
statewide race.
Just like Riley Kuntz is another example. If I remember correctly, he got like 12 or 15% of the vote against the machine that is John Hoven.
Yep. So it can be done. So
Yep. I just think that we need to have a plan, and Dr. Frank kind of talked about that. Have a plan. Get a team. They don't have to be big teams. Get a team together. Have a leader, have a data person, have a PR dude, pick your spot and where you go. There's enough work to go around. Put the people in the correct places and let's get it going. If you guys need help, reach out to us. I'll help anybody. Um, you know. So
yeah, and I mean,
I'm
if
just
you come from one of the good districts, if you come from a district where you're going to have an executive committee that's going to support you, it's time to be talking to them now if you're interested in running.
Yep. Now is the time, guys. We don't have any more time. If we don't get this corrected by 24, we're done. Yep. So at any rate,
Yeah.
God,
Now we got the
God bless.
information. Thank you, Carrie, for the Rick Green stuff. We'll make sure we get it up on the page.
Yep. So,
Well,
all right. Everybody have a good evening. Have a good week. God bless you. God bless your family, and God bless this country.
all right. Have a good one, folks.